Have you ever wondered why making friends in Denmark can feel so tricky? If so, you're not alone. For many newcomers, and indeed Danes moving to a new part of the country, meeting new people is one of the most difficult things to do. In this clip, we go over why Danes have a reputation for being tough to get to know. It might have something to do with the size of their dining room table. Probably the hottest topic when it comes to non-Danes moving to Denmark: how to make friends with Danish people.
Danes have a reputation for being tough to get to know and not always the warmest. This can make things difficult for those who are new in the country, or indeed Danes moving to a new part of Denmark. Let's go straight into it by starting with what it's like for non-Danes living in Denmark looking for friends. So often what happens is that you come to Denmark and one of you in a couple has a job. And the other one, the spouse, might not have a job yet. People often experience that if they don't have colleagues, how do they meet people here? You go to hobbies, you might engage in sports, but people don't tend to invite you out afterwards or back into their homes. And that's often because the Danes, they have very small friendship circles. And they are very close with their family, spend a lot of time engaging with them. And therefore, it doesn't seem like there's more space in their lives for more friendships.
And I'm just wondering, so but both of us have had experience living in multiple countries. And I'm curious if this situation that the other parents that you're speaking with, and they're saying, okay, we've come to this new country and it's actually really tough in Denmark. What might that look like in another country?
So, for example, if you're in the US, if you're in the Middle East, if you're in South Africa, generally people do tend to invite you to their home if you're new, because they are curious about you, first of all. They think it's interesting that someone from abroad has come their way, and also they want to be hospitable. They want to make sure that you're invited in and you see the best of their country. And therefore, you'd find that generally you are invited into their space quite easily. But I think in Denmark, we don't really see it that way, because we have two spheres. We have the private sphere, which is very private, and then we have the work sphere, which is a work sphere. And the one in between, it doesn't really exist. So that's where people from abroad often tend to drown.
Coming to Denmark, it is a little bit different, where it's sort of, maybe there's a little nod at the school gate, or you might sort of exchange a brief hello with someone at the office. But other than that, you go home all alone.
Exactly. It's quite sad, actually. And it's interesting because I think Danes, they really enjoy when they go abroad. They love engaging with other cultures and they love being invited in. But for some reason, we struggle to do it ourselves. And I think it's partly because we are a very small country. It is difficult to break into Scandinavian culture. I mean, we obviously have this concept of hygge, but hygge tends to be a concept that goes with being a very small group of friends who know each other very well.
Why do you think Danes keep close friends? Why do you think that something about Denmark and Danish people says that they prioritise making these close few friends as opposed to sort of spreading it out a bit like acquaintances?
It's quite easy to become an acquaintance in many cultures across the world. In Denmark, you don't become an acquaintance in that way. You become either a friend or someone you nod at the entrance of the school gate or at work. So your friends are almost like family. We engage a lot with the friends we have from a very early age, and we bond with these groups of friends from early childhood, and then we stick with them. And that takes up all our space and time. We don't tend to have a local pub or a local restaurant that we go and hang out in, where you could just invite more people along. We tend to invite people into our homes for dinner parties. And for that reason, it's a lot more hassle whenever you have new people coming through. So it's not like, let's go to the local, come join us. It tends to be smaller groups, smaller parties. It is about fitting everyone around the dinner table, because that's how we tend to engage around a big meal. And tables can only be so big.
Yes, especially in apartments that are quite cramped, I find.
And that's the other thing. It's about space, isn't it? We obviously live in a cold climate. And for that reason, we tend to be inside a lot. Very difficult to break into that. There's only limited space. It's not that they don't want to be hospitable.
Danish culture can be pretty confusing, especially if you're not from Denmark. Each week, our podcast takes a curious look at everyday behaviours in Denmark and speaks to experts to understand why these things can be puzzling to non-Danes. If you've ever been curious about how to live in one of the happiest countries in the world, then grab a seat and get comfortable. It's going to be hyggeligt. I'm Sam, a non-Dane in Denmark, and with me is Josephine, a Dane giving the inside view of the country. Join us on our journey by listening to the full episodes for free wherever you listen to your podcasts, or head over to whatthedenmark.com.